The air in my bedroom felt heavier as the clock ticked closer to 3:33 a.m. I gripped the baseball bat, my knuckles white, staring at the door I'd triple-locked with deadbolts and a chain. 7 years of this. Every night, no matter where I lived, no matter how many locksmiths I bankrupted myself for, that damn door would unlock itself. Click, creak, open, always at 3:33. I'd moved from cramped city apartments to a nowhere cabin in the Montana woods, but it followed me. And last night, I was done running. I'd chugged enough coffee to make my heart stutter, set up a camping lantern to flood the room with light, and waited. No cameras, no tech. Whatever this was, it didn't like being recorded. I'd tried before. Every device fritzed out at 3:32. My eyes burned, but I didn't blink, fixed on the door. The clock hit 3:33. Click. The first deadbolt. Click. The second. Clank. The chain slid free like someone was pulling it. My breath caught as the knob turned. Slow. Deliberate. The door swung inward, and the lantern flickered but held. A figure stood in the doorway, shrouded in shadow despite the light. It wasn't tall, maybe 5 feet, but it felt wrong, like it was bending the space around it. No face, just a smudge where one should have been, like a photo left in the rain. "Eleanor," it said, voice low and crackling like static from an old radio. My stomach dropped. Nobody knew that name. I'd buried it 7 years ago when I faked my death. New identity, new life, running from a past that'd kill me if it caught up. But this thing knew. "Who are you?" I croaked, bat trembling in my hands. It stepped forward, and the floorboards didn't creak. "You left me," it said, the words curling into my skull. "You promised forever, Eleanor." I swung the bat hard, but it passed through like hitting smoke. The thing didn't flinch. It tilted its head, and for a second I saw eyes, pale, endless, like staring into a dead star. "You can't run from what's owed," it whispered. I stumbled back, my spine hitting the wall. "I don't owe you anything. I don't even know you." It laughed, a sound like glass shattering in reverse. "You will. Tomorrow, Eleanor, 3:33. The lantern died, plunging the room into black. When I scrambled to relight it, the door was locked again, and I was alone. I haven't slept. It's 10:17 p.m. now, and I'm staring at that door, knowing it's coming again. I've got a priest on speed dial, salt across the threshold, and a gun I don't think will help. It knows my old name. It knows I died. And I think it's here to collect whatever I left behind." The salt line across the threshold glittered faintly under the dim glow of the new lantern I'd bought that morning, a cheap LED thing from the gas station down the road. I'd scattered every ward I could think of. Iron nails hammered into the door frame, a rosary draped over the knob, even a crude sigil I'd found in some occult form scratched into the wood with a kitchen knife. None of it felt like enough. The priest I'd called had hung up when I mentioned the name Eleanor, muttering something about cursed debts before the line went dead. My phone hasn't worked since. The gun, a .38 revolver I'd picked up from a shady pawn shop, sat heavy in my lap. I didn't know if bullets could touch whatever that thing was, but the weight of it grounded me, kept my hands from shaking too much. The clock on the nightstand read 3:29 a.m., 4 minutes. My heart thudded so loud I swore it'd drown out the clicks when they started. I'd spent the day digging through my past, trying to piece together what Eleanor owed. 7 years ago, I'd been a different person, literally. Eleanor was a grifter, a con artist who'd crossed the wrong people, a syndicate that didn't take kindly to being swindled out of $500,000. Faking my death was the only way out. Car crash, dental records, a body too charred to identify. I'd started over as Jane, quiet, invisible, moving from place to place. But this thing, it wasn't the mob. It wasn't human. 3:32. The air thickened like someone had cranked the heat to unbearable. The lantern flickered just like last night, but I'd rigged a backup. A flashlight taped to the bedpost, beam aimed at the door. I tightened my grip on the revolver, thumb on the hammer. Click. The first deadbolt. My breath hitched. Click. The second. Clank. The chain fell, scattering the salt line like it was nothing. The sigil on the door smoked, charring black, and the rosary beads cracked, spilling across the floor. The knob turned, slower this time, like it was savoring the moment. The door creaked open. It was there again, that smudged silhouette, but tonight it was clearer. Still no face, but I could make out a shape, slender, almost human, wrapped in something like tattered cloth that moved against the wind I couldn't feel. The flashlight beam hit it and the light bent, warping around its edges like it was a hole in the world. "Eleanor," it said, voice sharper now, cutting through the static. "Why?" The highway stretched dark and empty, the Montana night swallowing my headlights as I pushed the old pickup to its limit. The clock on the dash read 10:43 p.m., and every mile felt like a countdown. Lila was in Seattle, a 9-hour drive if I didn't stop, and I wasn't planning to. The revolver, reloaded, sat on the passenger seat next to a thermos of gas station coffee and a crumpled map. My phone was still dead, screen black no matter how many times I tried to restart it. The thing's voice clung to me, those words, "Return it," looping in my head like a bad song. I didn't know what it was, but the cold in my bones hadn't faded since last night. Lila had been my fixer, the one who'd forged the papers, bribed the coroner, and turned Eleanor into a ghost. She'd been in that basement too, whispering warnings I ignored because the payout was too good. If anyone knew what I'd signed up for, it was her. Problem was, Lila didn't like being found. Last I heard, she was running a dive bar in Seattle's underbelly, hiding from the same kind of people I'd been running from. But this wasn't the syndicate. This was worse. Around 2 a.m., the truck's radio crackled on by itself, spitting static. I hadn't touched it. A voice broke through, faint, garbled, saying Eleanor in that same shattered glass tone. I slammed the off button, heart pounding, but the static kept humming, low and insistent. The air in the cab turned heavy, like it had in the bedroom. I glanced in the rearview mirror and nearly swerved off the road. For a split second, the back seat wasn't empty. A smudged shape, faceless, stared back. I blinked, and it was gone. The static died with it. By 5 a.m., I hit Seattle, the city's gray dawn smearing across the skyline. Lila's bar, the Black Anchor, was tucked in a rotting corner of the waterfront, the kind of place you didn't find unless you knew where to look. I parked a block away, tucked the revolver into my jacket, and walked through the drizzle. The bar's neon sign flickered, half dead, and the door was unlocked despite the early hour. Inside, it smelled of stale beer and something sharper, like burnt herbs. Lila was behind the counter, wiping glasses, her gray hair pulled tight in a bun. She looked older, harder, but those sharp green eyes hadn't changed. She froze when she saw me, glass slipping from her hand and shattering on the floor. "Jane," she said, voice low, "you shouldn't be here." "You know why I'm here," I said, locking the door behind me. "It's found me, Lila. It knows my name. Eleanor." Her face went pale, and she grabbed a bottle of whiskey, pouring 2 shots with shaking hands. "You didn't listen back then," she said, sliding one to me. "I told you not to touch that book, not to let them cut you." "The ritual." I didn't touch the drink. "What was it? What did I give them?" She leaned against the counter, eyes darting to the shadows in the corners. "It wasn't just a con, Eleanor. That book, they called the thing it belonged to the debt keeper. Old, older than old. You promised it your blood, your life, to seal their deal. Power for them, servitude for you. When you ran, you broke the contract." "Servitude?" My voice cracked. "I didn't sign up for that." "You did when you bled on that page. They don't care about your intentions." She downed her shot, grimacing. "It's been looking for you ever since. Most don't last a year, let alone 7. I gripped the revolver in my pocket. "It said I could return it." "What's it?" Lila's eyes narrowed. "Your debt. Your life. The only way out is to give it what you promised, or give it someone else's." "Someone else's?" I stared at her, the air growing heavy again. The lights in the bar flickered, and that static hum started low, crawling up from the floor. "You know what I mean," she whispered, glancing at the door. "Blood for blood. That's how it works." The clock above the bar read 6:12 a.m. I had until 3:33 to decide. Find a way to give back whatever piece of me I'd pledged, or trick someone else into taking my place. Lila was watching me, and I realized she wasn't just scared for me. She was scared of me. The static grew louder, and in the mirror behind the bar, I saw it, the smudged shape standing right behind me, waiting. The static hum pulsed in my ears, syncing with my heartbeat as the smudged shape loomed in the mirror behind me. Its faceless presence filled the bar with that same bone-deep cold, the air so thick I could barely breathe. Lila's eyes flicked between me and the thing, her hand inching toward a drawer under the counter. I didn't need to guess what was in there, a blade, a gun, something to protect herself from me. She thought I'd come to pass the debt to her. "Eleanor," the thing whispered, its voice slicing through the static, closer now, like it was speaking inside my skull. "Return it! Now!" I spun around, revolver drawn, but it was gone. Just shadows and the flickering neon light. The mirror showed only me, pale and wild-eyed, and Lila, frozen, her hand still hovering near the drawer. The clock ticked to 6:15 a.m., 9 hours left until 3:33. "Lila," I said, voice low, "tell me how to end this." "No games. I'm not here to screw you over." She didn't relax, but her hand dropped. "You can't end it. You can only redirect it. Blood for blood, like I said. Someone else has to take your place, willingly or not. That's what the syndicate did, passing their debts to saps like us. You were just the idiot who bled first. My stomach twisted. I remembered the basement, the hooded figures, the book that smelled of ash and iron. I thought it was all theatrics, but the way my blood had soaked into those pages, the way the air had shifted, I'd felt it even then, something watching, waiting. "Who'd you pass yours to?" I asked, the question bitter on my tongue. Lila's lips pressed thin. "Nobody. I never finished the ritual. You did. That's why it's after you, not me." The static surged and the lights dimmed again. A glass on the counter cracked, splitting clean in half. "Liar!" I snapped, stepping closer. "You were there. You knew what was happening. You let me take the fall." Her eyes hardened. "You were greedy, Eleanor. Don't pin this on me." The thing's voice cut in again, sharper everywhere. "Choose, Eleanor, or we choose for you." The mirror flickered, and there it was again. Closer, its twig-like fingers brushing the back of my neck in the reflection. I swung the revolver up, but Lila moved faster, yanking a shotgun from under the counter and leveling it at my chest. "Don't," she said, voice shaking. "I know what you're thinking. You're not passing it to me." I lowered the gun slowly, mind racing. The debt keeper wanted blood. A life. But I wasn't about to sacrifice Lila or anyone else. There had to be another way. "The book," I said suddenly. "You said my blood's in it. If I destroy it, does that break the contract?" Lila's grip on the shotgun faltered. "Maybe, but it's not here. The syndicate moved it after you bolted. Last I heard, it was in a safe house in Tacoma, guarded. You'd never get to it in time." "I've got 9 hours," I said, glancing at the clock. "Tell me where." She hesitated, then scrawled an address on a napkin, sliding it across the counter. "You're insane. Even if you get the book, burning it might not work. It's not normal." I grabbed the napkin and backed toward the door, revolver still in hand. "If I don't make it, it's coming for me, not you. Stay here. Stay safe." The drive to Tacoma was a blur, the static following me, crackling through the truck's dead radio. The address led to a rundown warehouse, its windows boarded, a chain-link fence topped with razor wire. I didn't have time for subtlety. 3:33 was closing in. I cut through the fence with bolt cutters from the truck's toolbox and slipped inside, the revolver heavy in my jacket. The warehouse was a maze of crates and shadows, but I found it. A steel door at the back, guarded by 2 men with guns. I wasn't Eleanor the grifter anymore. I was desperate. I took them out with a pipe from the floor, quick and quiet, my hands shaking as I dragged their bodies aside. The door led to a small room, and there it was. The book, black leather, pulsing faintly like it had a heartbeat, locked in a glass case. I smashed the case with the pipe, glass shattering, and grabbed the book. It burned my hands cold and hot at once, and the static roared, deafening. "Eleanor!" the thing hissed, materializing in the corner, its smudged form sharper now, almost human, its eyes like voids. "You cannot unwrite what's written." "Watch me," I growled, pulling a lighter from my pocket. The flame caught the pages, and the book screamed, not a sound, but a feeling, like my soul was tearing. The thing lunged, but I held the book into the fire, pages curling black. The air warped, the thing's form unraveling, its voice fracturing into 1,000 whispers. The flames died at 3:32 a.m. The book was ash, the thing gone. I stumbled outside, gasping, the cold fading from my bones. The static was silent. My phone buzzed to life, showing a missed call from Lila. I drove back to the bar, exhausted but alive. Lila was still there, shotgun on the counter. "You did?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. I nodded, collapsing into a chair. "It's over." But as I said it, my hand brushed the napkin in my pocket, the one with the address. It wasn't Lila's handwriting. It was mine. From 7 years ago, when I was Eleanor, when I'd planned to double-cross the syndicate and keep the book for myself. I'd never told Lila about the safe house. She shouldn't have known. The clock ticked to 3:33 a.m. The bar's lights flickered and the static started again, soft like a promise.